Today is an interesting day for various reasons. First, it's a bad day. We're down 10% in the portfolio. Tesla is taking a hit because Jeff Bezos tweeted that China is going to have leverage over Twitter through Tesla, and that is spooking out the market. I want to discuss this relationship and in general talk about how we see the relationship between Elon Musk and China. This is the Not Even Wrong podcast. It's April 25th, 2022. This is Krimdelko for the day. The fund is down 10.2%. The market is down 1.5%. For the year, we are now down 25.4%. The market is down 11.6%. We're underperforming by 13.8%. The drawdown comes from Tesla. Tesla had a big correction today. The market is down a lot also. Nasdaq's down almost 3%. We attribute the sell-off actually to Tesla. So today the rates are, for example, down. The yield's down on a 10-year. Oil's up a bit. Europe, Raiffeisenbank in Austria, which is sort of my proxy for Russia, is just down a few percent. So this is not something macro. This is driven by Tesla. And the reason Tesla is down is because Jeff Bezos tweeted that he thinks that China will have leverage over Twitter through Tesla. Now, what does this mean? Let's dissect this and then talk about the way we think about this. First, what does it mean? Well, you own a platform, Twitter, and people on that platform tweet about things that are going on in China. This could displease the leadership in China. They could ask Musk to do something about it. Musk could be in a conflict of interest here where he wants to proliferate free speech on the one hand. On the other hand, he has to please the Chinese government because he has a factory there and he sells a lot of cars. In other words, Elon Musk could be perceived as the enemy of the state and he could be punished for being that through repercussions against his business. This is what the market is pricing in today. That's why Tesla is down 10%, loses 100 billion in market cap because of this particular fact. Now, the way we think about this is the following. First, we believe that Elon Musk has a good relationship with China, not because he's a nice guy or anything like that, because he's actually contributing to China. He's contributing to China because he has brought a factory to China, which is state-of-the-art in an industry that China cares about. And he's been the first person that was given full ownership of the factory. So in that sense, we believe that there is a good chance that the Chinese will also give him some leeway when it comes to owning a platform that is controversial when it comes to free speech in China. So this is the first thing we want to say. Second, the reason, and this is actually much more important, let's parse the reason for why Musk is doing this. Musk doesn't have a problem with free speech in China. You can attack him for that or not attack him for that, it doesn't matter. The purpose of buying Twitter is not because he wants to proliferate free speech in China. The purpose of buying Twitter is to proliferate free speech in the West. Because Musk is genuinely concerned about the freedom of speech in the West. Here's a couple of examples where he personally was facing the state or state governments in the West taking over control, taking over authority that they don't have. For example, when in the early, the COVID period was, of course, an eye-opening for many of us, and in particular, when it comes to the state and authorities and bureaucrats taking powers that they don't have and exercising them on us. This happened in Fremont when the factory was closed, and Musk then attacked the Fremont Sheriff Department and the mayor and all these things. I don't know the details, but there was a lawsuit against the Fremont government because they did not have the authority to close the factory. Then there were, even before that, the New York Times was trying to paint that the Tesla cars are not good enough, that they break down. This was very early on when the Model S started. Again, Musk went after them. In Berlin, the factory opening was delayed and delayed and delayed with a lot of information that was somehow false or convoluted about, species dying in the forests there and all that stuff. Musk has been continuously dealing with false information, bad information, misinformation that was driven by the Western media and Western propaganda. And that's why he's buying Twitter. So if anybody has leverage over Musk. It is the Western media and the Western governments and the Western bureaucrats. And that's why he wants to buy Twitter. So Twitter can become a platform, and these are his words, where trust, free speech, and humans are identified and proliferating. Now let's talk a little bit about this statement that he gave yesterday on April 24th about what he wants to do with Twitter. He said a few interesting things. He said he wants to build trust. He said he wants to identify humans. And he said he wants to do things that are important for humanity. All of these things don't exclude China. If you identify humans, then humans can express themselves on Twitter, and if the Chinese government has an issue with that, they can go after them. That's not something that Musk can control. He can't control the fact that people are being prosecuted for saying what they want to say. So if they want to say something on Twitter, they can do it. And since they have to identify, then the Chinese government can do whatever they need to do. So in that sense, this is not exactly orthogonal with what the Chinese government does now. Of course, critics will push back immediately and say, listen, you're crazy, you don't know what's going on in China. If you open your mouth there, you go to prison, all that stuff. Look, I don't know what's true and what's not true. What I know for sure is that what we paint here in the West in terms of the way China works is not all true either. And actually, Twitter could be a vehicle for China also to portray themselves the way they want to be portrayed in the West, and the way they want to be portrayed as far as their own people are concerned. So Twitter is, and by the way, the Chinese have something like Twitter, which is Weibo, and they're not completely new to social media in the first place. Why is Tesla in China in the first place? Well, not just because China is a big market. We've said that many times. The entry into China is a strategic decision which is driven by the fact that China is the future of electric intelligent cars. So if you want to succeed in that market, you have to be in China, because the disruption that you could face yourself as a disruptor, i.e. Tesla being a disruptor, faces the biggest competition actually from China. That's why they're in China. They had no choice. Why are they in Germany? You could say the same thing. Why do you go to Germany, which is the one market that you're disrupting the most with your cars? Well, they're going to Germany because Germany is the biggest market in Europe. You have to win the hearts and minds of Germans if you want to proliferate electric cars in Germany. So again, those are strategic decisions that, in our view, are necessary and therefore also the right decisions. Now, Twitter is not strategic to Tesla or SpaceX or any of that stuff. So but Musk has decided to buy Twitter. We're not necessarily happy about this. We've said that there is a possibility that Web3 and identity and ownership, and we had a whole episode, our last episode 2 days ago was about that. So we've spoken about this, and we have very clear ideas of what we think can be done with Twitter in a very interesting way to proliferate technology, to disrupt media, to disrupt idea proliferation, to disrupt opinion making, all these things. So Twitter is not strategic to Tesla, but it can be an important asset. And the relationship with China and Elon Musk is such that China has certain interests, and I think we can put the interests of China into three buckets. One is economic growth to bring people out of poverty, number two, and number three, that the power structure doesn't change. This is an interest that China at least has in terms of the leadership and the upper middle class. I think this is fair to say. Now, do they want to have more freedoms? Everybody wants more freedom. Freedom is the measure of wealth. So in terms of wealth, like, you can't be a wealthy nation without being free. And I think the Chinese leadership knows that. So, but freedom in China has different nuances than, let's say, the freedom that we think we have here. And certain things are allowed, certain things are not allowed. In our episodes about the autobiography of Ai Weiwei, we spoke about this in many ways, and we spoke about the fact that China is kind of like a circle, that it goes one way, comes back the other way, that there are things that we perceive as impossible here that are possible in China and vice versa. So we need to understand and respect that they are different, that the freedom and the democracy that we think that we have, and which is the right thing for us, might not necessarily be the right thing for them. So we have to respect that. I think Elon Musk understands that very well. But most importantly, this whole idea, and now let's get to the meat of the matter here. Jeff Bezos tweets that China will have leverage over Twitter through Tesla. Now, why is he doing that? First, I think he shouldn't be doing this. This is petty of him, and we believe that the behavior of Jeff Bezos is petty, and let's leave it at that. But why is he saying that? Well, there's one thing that we have to say he has, which is experience. He's a business owner and he owns the Washington Post. So in that sense, he has experience with owning a media outlet and also being a business owner and maybe facing backlash over what the media outlet is writing when it comes to his businesses. So maybe he's giving Musk advice, but of course he could do that in a much more friendly way than openly on Twitter. He caused a sell down in the stock, which, if he wanted that or not, let's leave that open. But the point here is that the relationship that Musk has with China is not necessarily that bad. If you identify humans and you therefore, there's no misinformation, at least not misinformation as it is proliferated right now on Twitter, then there's a much higher chance that a true conversation happens, and this could also benefit China. For example, we in the West now are under the impression that the zero COVID policy in China is a complete disaster, that people don't have food to eat and all that stuff. Musk actually went to China and tweeted that China rocks. So which one is the truth here? Typically, when it's so extreme, the truth is in the middle. Probably China is not so bad, and probably also it's not rocking as much as Musk said. If we had a platform such as maybe Twitter could become, where individuals, identified individuals with trust, can express what they're seeing, then maybe we could have a much better picture of China too, which could in the end also help the Tesla business. So the conclusion is that we think this sell-off is warranted because of the fears, but not warranted because of what we think will evolve here. Because the reality is that China and Elon Musk have a relationship which is mutually beneficial, that China as a country is going towards progress, it's not Russia, and that we believe that a free speech, a true free speech that is trying to be achieved within Twitter through Musk's ownership actually is not necessarily orthogonal towards China. And therefore, this sell-off, while warranted through the fear, is not warranted through the reality on the ground. We believe that whatever Musk wants to do with Twitter, if he does the right thing, and there are things that can be done that we've alluded in our podcast about Web3 and Twitter. If he goes down that route, then Twitter can actually become not just an engine for free speech in the world, but also an engine for a better relationship between China and the West, and therefore China and Tesla. Thank you.